come on. Do you know the one Social Security mistake that costs widows thousands of dollars every single year? One wrong claiming decision can permanently slash a survivor's income by up to 28%. That's $200,000 lost over a lifetime. Most widows never hear about this until it's too late. In the next few minutes, I'll show you exactly what to do before and after a spouse's death, so you can protect your future. Here is the reality most couples never discuss. The Social Security survivorship rules create a trap that can strip away nearly a third of your late spouse's benefit overnight. And the worst part, the damage is done years before anyone dies. Let's start with Charles and Mary. Charles and Mary were married for 42 years. Charles was the higher earner, an engineer, and when he turned 62, he did what nearly half of Americans do. He claimed Social Security early. The checks started coming, and they felt like a reward for decades of work. He never thought about what would happen if he died first. Then, at 72, Charles passed away suddenly. Mary was 60. Grieving, she walked into a Social Security office expecting to keep the larger of their two benefits. What she didn't know was that because Charles had claimed early, his benefit had been permanently cut by 25%. Instead of a full retirement age benefit of $2,400 a month, he was only receiving $1,800. And as a widow filing at 60, Mary could collect just 71.5% of that already reduced amount. That gave her $1,287 a month, nearly half of what she could have received if they had planned differently. Over a 20-year survival, that one decision cost Mary more than $260,000 in lost income. And her situation is completely ordinary. More than 3.8 million widows and widowers are collecting survivor benefits today, and many are receiving far less than the system allows. But here is the twist that almost nobody tells couples about. Even after Charles died, Mary still had a chance to save her retirement. There is a rule that lets a surviving spouse sequence their benefits in a way that recovers thousands of lost dollars, but only if you know to ask for it. I will show you that strategy. First, you need to see exactly how the trap gets set. The trap has two jaws. The first is the claiming decision of the spouse who died. When Charles filed at 62, he locked in a lifetime benefit that was 25% below his full retirement age amount. That reduction did not disappear when he died. It transferred directly to Mary. The survivor benefit is based on what the deceased was actually receiving, not on their maximum potential. So, if the higher earner claims early, the survivor inherits a permanently shrunken check. Millions of couples never discuss this, because the higher earner often rushes to claim as soon as they stop working, thinking it only affects their own lifetime. It doesn't. That brings us to the second jaw, the surviving spouse's own age at filing. Mary was 60. Under the rules, a widow can claim survivor benefits as early as age 60. But every month before full retirement age carves off a percentage. At 60, she receives just 71.5%. At 62, it rises to about 81%. Full survivor retirement age is usually 66 in a few months, where she would get 100% of Charles's reduced benefit. So her choice of when to claim after his death creates a second permanent reduction on top of the first. And here's the part that makes this so brutally unfair. Social Security applies something called the widower limit, a cap that supposedly protects survivors against the worst of these stacking reductions. The rule says that if the deceased claimed early, the survivor benefit can't drop below 82.5% of the deceased's full retirement age benefit, or the actual benefit they were receiving, whichever is higher. In Charles's case, his full retirement age benefit was $2,400. So 82.5% of that is $1,980. But Mary's claim at 60 gave her only $1,287, which is far below that floor. So why wasn't the cap applied automatically? Because the cap only works if the surviving spouse waits until full retirement age to claim survivor benefits. At 60, she gets slammed with both reductions. Now, most people assume the Social Security Administration will tell you the optimal path. They won't. The representatives are not allowed to give advice. They can only answer specific questions you ask. If you don't know to ask, Should I claim survivor now and switch to my own retirement at 70? You'll likely just be offered a benefit and leave. That silence is where the real carnage lives. But remember, I said Mary still had a chance. The survivor benefit rules contain a secret that most widows never learn until it's too late. Unlike retirement and spousal benefits, survivor benefits are not subject to deemed filing. That means you can claim survivor benefits early and let your own retirement benefit continue to grow with delayed retirement credits all the way to age 70. In Mary's case, she could have collected a survivor check starting at 60, then switched to her own maximized benefit at 70, dramatically increasing her total lifetime income. Yet here is where the second mistake surfaces. The widows who don't know this sequence often claim both benefits at once, or claim their own retirement first and survivor later, which can permanently lock them out of the higher lifetime payout. In the case that was documented by financial planners, a widow who made that exact sequencing error missed out on $200,000 over her lifetime. The same sum that could have covered decades of groceries, property taxes, and medical bills. So the difference between comfortable survival and quiet poverty after a spouse's death often comes down to a single phone call and the right 4 words spoken to an SSA agent. But most widows aren't told the words. They're handed a reduced check and sent home. That's exactly what happened to Mary until she learned about the one question that changes everything. But before I give you that question, you need to see the third trap, the one involving remarriage, working while receiving benefits, and a quirk of the system that can claw back thousands. Now, here is the trap nobody warns you about: remarriage. A widow who remarries before age 60 loses her survivor benefits entirely. That's an instant and permanent cutoff. No grace period, no appeal. If Mary had remarried at 59, all of Charles's lifetime earnings and their decades of marriage become irrelevant to her Social Security check. The moment she says, "I do," those survivor payments stop. And the rule is strict. If the marriage happened before 60, even if the spouse then dies or she divorces, she can't go back and claim survivor benefits from Charles. It's a one-way door, but that's not the only landmine. Every year, thousands of widows under full retirement age go back to work thinking they're supplementing a small survivor check, only to have those checks clawed back. Social Security's earnings test kicks in the moment you earn over a certain limit. In 2026, if you are under full retirement age, you lose $1 in benefits for every $2 you earn above $23,400. If a widow is collecting, say, $1,400 a month and takes a part-time job paying $30,000, she could forfeit more than $3,000 in benefits. And many don't realize the clawback happens up front. Social Security withholds entire monthly checks until the overpayment is recovered. So they suddenly get a letter saying no payment for the next 3 months, right when they were counting on it for the mortgage. And here's where it gets worse. That earnings test reduction is not always refunded later. When you reach full retirement age, Social Security recalculates your benefit to credit you for months you didn't receive payments due to earnings. But that credit applies to your own retirement benefit, not the survivor benefit. So if a widow is drawing survivor benefits and working, the withheld amounts are recalculated to increase her own retirement benefit later. But the survivor benefit remains reduced for life. If she didn't earn a high enough retirement benefit of her own, those lost months are gone forever. In plain terms, the system can permanently strip survivor benefits for widows who try to work their way out of grief. But the biggest betrayal is what I call the false safety net. Many couples assume that if the higher earner waits to claim, they'll leave a larger survivor benefit. That's true, but they overlook the fact that the lower earner's own retirement benefit, often a teacher, a part-time worker, someone who spent years out of the workforce raising children, may be smaller than the survivor benefit they'd get from the spouse. So they think they're doing everything right by waiting, but the widow still ends up with a lifetime benefit that's lower than it could have been, because they never realized the survivor benefit could be claimed first, letting their own benefit grow. I've seen a documented case where a widow, Patricia, claimed her own small retirement at 62 instead of survivor. that locked her into a permanently reduced benefit of $900 a month. She later tried to switch to Survivor at full retirement age, but because she had filed for her own retirement early, the deemed filing rule applied to that benefit, and the Survivor amount she could get was the difference between the two. Only $200 extra. Her total monthly benefit was $1,100, instead of the $1,600 she could have had if she'd taken Survivor at 62 and switched at 70. That mistake cost her nearly $60,000 over just 10 years. So we've got at least 4 ways a widow can walk into a financial hole. The deceased's early claim, the widow's early claim on top, the remarriage cutoff, and the earnings test clawback. And all of these intersect in a maze that the Social Security office won't explain. You have to walk in knowing the exact path. Here's the question that changes everything. Write this down. Can I claim Survivor benefits now and then switch to my own retirement benefit at 70? That's the phrase that opens the door to the sequential claiming strategy. When said correctly, a SSA representative must honor the request. But if you don't ask, they'll likely process a single application that locks you into whichever benefit you first file for. And you'll never know what you lost. Now, let's walk through the exact steps before and after a death that could save a widow $200,000 or more, and what you need to bring to the SSA office to make sure they get it right. First, while you are both still alive, have one conversation. If the higher earner hasn't yet claimed, ask them to wait until age 70 if possible. Every year of delay past full retirement age adds 8% in delayed retirement credits that become part of the Survivor benefit. A $1,200 benefit at 66 can grow to over $1,500 by 70. And that boost transfers to the surviving spouse for life. If they've already claimed early, the damage is locked, but you can still plan around it. After a death, the clock starts. Notify Social Security immediately. The funeral home usually reports it, but you should call to formalize things. You'll need the death certificate and your marriage certificate. Ask about the $255 lump sum death benefit. It's small, but it's yours. Then say this exactly. I want to file a restricted application for Survivor benefits only. I do not want to file for my own retirement benefit at this time. Those words prevent deemed filing from kicking in. The representative must process that request. If you are at least 60, you can start Survivor benefits even if you continue to let your own record grow. If you are under full retirement age and working, know the earnings test limit, and if possible, limit your income to avoid clawbacks or plan for the withholding. Now here is the detail that can bring thousands back. If you are filing for Survivor benefits more than a month after your spouse's death, ask for 6 months of retroactive benefits. Social Security allows you to backdate your Survivor claim by up to 6 months, and they'll pay a lump sum for those months. Many widows miss this because they assume benefits only start from when they apply. But when you ask, they'll calculate the lump sum from the date of death or from the earliest month you were eligible, whichever is more advantageous. Just remember, retroactive Survivor benefits can't go back past your 61st birthday, and taking them may lock in a slightly higher reduction if you were younger, so ask the agent to run both numbers. If you are already past full retirement age for survivors, 66 in a few months, you can instead consider taking full Survivor benefits and letting your own retirement max out to 70. Or you might do the reverse if your own benefit is higher. The SSA won't tell you which strategy yields more, you need to calculate it. But the key is that you never have to commit to one benefit forever at the moment of claiming. And one final surprise, if you were divorced from your late spouse after at least 10 years of marriage and haven't remarried before 60, you qualify for Survivor benefits, just like a current widow. That's a lifeline many divorced women never discover. The rules are identical. Restricted application, timing, everything. That's the whole playbook. The family of Charles and Mary, if they'd known this, would have seen Mary collect Survivor benefits at 60, then switch to her own maximum at 70, yielding an extra $260,000 in lifetime income. Instead, she lost it. But you don't have to. The difference between poverty and security is often one appointment, 4 correct words, and a little patience. I've put all of this into a survivor benefit checklist. The exact documents, phone numbers, and questions to ask. It's free and ready for you right now. I'll show you where to get it. And then I'll leave you with one last thought. Here is the truth that sits with me. Most retirement advice assumes 2 healthy people living parallel lives to 95. It never accounts for loss. And the widows I hear from don't miss the big market returns. They miss the small print that starve their income. If you are the higher earner, the greatest gift you can leave your spouse isn't a bigger savings account. It's a delayed claiming date. If you are waiting on that claim, don't rush. Every month you wait is a permanent raise for the person you love. If you are already walking through grief, take the checklist. Use those 4 words. Protect what you built together. If this made sense to you, hit like and subscribe. Then check the first pinned comment. There's a special offer there just for this audience. You've already done the hard part. You showed up. The rest is just paperwork.